to make a video about the current events. I had planned to name this video Demise of a Criminal Nation, or Amerika Hits the Fan. But I started the video a couple of times and I just didn't like the flow of it, the way it was going. And I've talked about a lot of this stuff in the other videos about deflation and militarism and other stuff. But I thought that a better track to follow is to talk about what will come after all these fiascos, after the economy completely implodes and they have to redo or rejig their money, and things will be very different. But will it be a worse place to live in? Will it be as bad as people think it will be? Maybe society that will follow will not be really that bad. It will maybe be better. Well, before this crash, stock market crash, there had been other crashes, and also in other countries there have been very drastic economic changes, and some examples are there to look into, and we see that these countries that went through this process, their, their, their citizens are better off, or they have things that are better than the United States. One of the countries that went through financial calamity was Iceland. They had these banks and banksters that were issuing all this money, and they were that turned their economy into a casino, just like here. And they were issuing currency, and the people or the population had lost control of their money, just like here, where Federal Reserve just yesterday issued $2.5 trillion worth of cash. Nobody knows where this money is going to be going. They just make a show of it in Congress or Senate that, hey, we are spending it, we're giving it to this and that, but nobody really knows where the private bank, Federal Reserve, spends this money on. And they also are engaged in military ventures, militarism in so many places, and their population doesn't know what to do with all these wars, and they have totally lost control of their military or their government or their banks. It's just a runaway system. But what if this system imploded? What if it totally fell apart? What if you're looking back and you saw that, hey, all this drama, and it really didn't mean anything? One of the effects of all this money slushing around through the economy is that the interrelationships between people and businesses are totally twisted. They're out of control. You don't know what prices should be. What prices in a country reflects the cost of manufacturing, cost of distribution, cost of labor in an open labor market, or cost of capital in a capital market. What interest rate is the natural interest rate for United States? So everything is so twisted, so convoluted. because there is so much intervention by the central bank, by the government in all aspects of economic relationships, and also there's so much expenditure, interference in foreign countries. There is hardly any rationale or logical or natural reason for many events that happen in the United States. Like you could sit down and try to figure out what was the natural or rational or national interest of the United States that would suddenly invade Iraq, or what's the rationale for staying in Iraq, or what is the natural or national interest of the United States to be in such disharmony and warfare state with Venezuela. Everything is so, it just happens. It's like chaos. You don't know what part of the establishment wants Iranian government overthrown, what part likes to take over Venezuela, what part or for what reason we issue all this currency. This is like a complete chaos. But that's not normal. In many countries, what happens in that country with their money, with their military, with their police, or with their judicial system reflects the underlying mechanisms, the underlying relationships between businesses and people. There is a sense to it. For example, if you have ever gone into Iran or like North Korea or Russia, you will notice something. You will first notice that these people are extremely nationalistic, and there is nothing that anybody can come in and do there without them having a great say-so over it. Then on the other side, you see that there is a culture, there is a club that runs the place, and if you run afoul of this club, you're gonna get your ass kicked. For example, if you go to Iran, you know that the Sepah, the IRGC, is in charge of the military and defense, and you really cannot do anything. They have the best weapons. They can deal the blows to anybody, to the United States, any Arab country, Israel. But besides besides being a certain culture, a certain way of thinking and doing things, their money is in their possession, in their desire of how this money is published, how much of it should be in circulation, and in many countries, the rich, the wealthy are not adored or desired like in the United States, like the new liberals are in charge here and they do anything they want. They, they have usually either it's an ideology or religion that is a dominant mode of thinking. Everybody doesn't think that being a successful capitalist is such a wonderful thing. There is other aspects of the society that are important. It was like this here in the United States too. For example, when I came back here in 1980s, 1970, technology was very important. Making things, technological innovations. Artists were very important too. And for example, back then, if somebody made a really nice movie, for example, Escape from Planet of Apes, that movie became very important. Artists like singers, They was making a lot of money. So it was an aspect of society that was very significant. In Iran, in other countries, religion or spirituality is very important. But here, everything is so twisted. Everybody's so focused on stock market, on their money, on government, what the hell it is going to do. Well, one of the effects of economic collapses is that uh, the government officials or the wealthy, they'll lose credibility. The society will see, hey, the stuff these guys do, it only enriches them, ensures they get elected again. It doesn't do anything for us. If a disaster is going to happen, we are the one in the front line and we're going to get our asses kicked first before anything else happens to these guys. Uh, so the collapse of credibility or legitimacy is a kind of natural outcome. Then many analysts like Salente, they talk about gold or precious metals, that they are really the real money, or they are the good money. But there is parallel to this in other sectors of society, like in the future, the Americans might come to recognize that their political philosophies or their admiration for the wealthy or neoliberalism is not really, is just like bad money. Or they would see that, hey, Christianity itself is more enduring values, more something that you can believe in than any of the later philosophies that we have came up with, or political philosophy. It really doesn't work, and things can change on a breeze, and we are stuck, left alone to ourselves. Everything feels like it's happening to Americans, and they really have given up on thinking about things that happen in society, in the world, and making up their own mind, using their own head, making their own philosophy or spirituality that explains the world. The Greeks used to do that a lot too. They used to try to find the reason for things when they happen. They had theories about the universe, theories about society. For example, Aristotle, I think it was Aristotle or Plato, uh, thought that a very learned philosopher would be the best person to be the king, or that the democracy had value to it, something like that. But that's all lost, and we have all these institutions in United States that they were built many decades ago, and the stuff they do don't reflect the reality of what's happening. Uh, well, we are entering a zero marginal cost society. The manufacturing processes and costs have collapsed, and making another copy of a widget or a car or a email service, it costs very little, and the natural outcome of such a system is socialism, because those underlying production modes have changed drastically. Another change has been decentralization, that you really don't need all these stupid politicians. Uh, we need some public servants, but many of these processes in government or in administration can be simplified or modified to go into on a server, but you just have to make sure that the part that has to do with the consent of population is done correctly and is true and genuine. I have a video. It's called Migration of Information Systems that talks about this. There's another video I had. It's called Government on a Shoestring. I think that the future governments will be very small. They would be using many algorithms that are on a server. For example, a server will be doing all the functions that DMV does, and but maybe the verification for people who they are will be done so that there is no fraud, like using fingerprinting, or it's done by systems that look at your eye and determine who you are. But these topics are a bit complex. But once this system collapses and falls apart, then some changes will happen. One of the changes I think would be that you don't need so much money to do any of these economic processes. For example, in Iceland and in Iran, in North Korea, in China, everything is produced. Most things are produced locally, and so the production cost is very low. This can happen to United States, where many things are just 3D printed, and because like 10 cents to produce real nice dress pants, the kinds I buy. I mean, if the cost of stuff collapses to such a level, then we wouldn't need all these trillions of dollars to be slushing around in our economy. Right now, we are living inside a giant casino, and the players in the casino who are masquerading as politicians and millionaires or billionaires, they need all this cash to gamble, but the future might be very different. I want to continue this line of thinking in other videos. I'm getting a bit tired because these ideas are a bit complex. But we'll get back to this. I did want to talk about U.S. militarism, but I have gone through this in so many videos. Is a bit tiring. Thank you very much for being my YouTube channel, and please subscribe.